There's an eerie silence hanging over America's travel industry in 2025, and almost nobody is talking about it. The United States, once known as the king of global tourism, now feels strangely empty. And the reason travelers are turning away isn't because Europe or Asia suddenly became more attractive. It's because of sky-high ticket prices, complicated visa rules, and a travel experience that feels more like a stressful maze than a vacation. Meanwhile, new destinations around the world are stealing the spotlight with affordable flights, simple paperwork, and the kind of friendliness America seems to have lost. The proof is in 6 major airports, practically deserted right in the middle of peak travel season. This might be one of the quietest yet most chilling exits in aviation history. Take Play Airlines, the low-cost carrier from Iceland. Once a lifeline for students, backpackers, and young travelers across Northern Europe dreaming of the American dream, it suddenly vanished from the US market in March 2025. There was no press release, no farewell message. Overnight, every US route disappeared from the booking system. The only people who realized what had happened were passengers who saw their trips erased. A cold, silent disappearance, yet the impact was seismic. According to the US Travel Association, arrivals from Northern Europe plunged by more than 60% in less than a year. Tens of thousands of seats that used to be filled every month went empty. Routes once buzzing with life were erased as if they never existed. Behind these numbers lies something even more alarming, a shift in traveler mindset. A survey by the European Travel Commission revealed that 71% of Nordic travelers now choose Canada or Japan over the US. So it's not just airfare. Travelers are really worried about social unrest, the high cost of medical care if something goes wrong, and honestly, the lack of support from local authorities in emergencies. A veteran tour guide in Reykjavik told reporters, "I used to bring hundreds of people to New York every month. They were excited. Now I tell them to go to Tokyo or Vancouver instead. America feels like a gamble. You might have an amazing experience, but you could just as easily end up with a costly mess. Nobody wants to take that risk anymore." If we rewind to 2015, the United States was the top destination for Northern European travelers. Fast forward to 2025, and, well, the story has flipped completely. In Iceland alone, US visa applications dropped nearly 48%, while applications for Canada and South Korea more than doubled. This shows a painful truth. America hasn't just lost budget flights, it has lost the goodwill and trust of an entire generation. Next, the situation in Canada is just as striking. In 2025, Air Canada and WestJet cut more than 40% of flights to the United States, affecting major routes like New York, Las Vegas, Orlando, and Los Angeles. For the first time, Canada is running more domestic flights than flights to America. For decades, traveling to the United States, especially in winter, was a Canadian tradition. Families, retirees, and snowbirds regularly flew south for warmer weather. But in 2025, Canadian bookings to the US dropped by 53%. Meanwhile, domestic travel within Canada and trips to Mexico are booming. One mother from Ottawa told CBC, "We used to think of the US as our backyard, but now I don't feel safe taking my kids there anymore." And it's not just money. Canadians aren't skipping the United States because they can't afford it. They're skipping it because they've lost trust in the experience. In Los Angeles, a mid-range hotel may cost $150 per night, plus $60 for parking and hidden fees. Meanwhile, that same money in Quebec or British Columbia buys a lakeside resort with breakfast included and a stress-free environment. So, a recent survey shows that about 69% of Canadians over 50 now believe the United States just isn't safe anymore. And nearly half of those who traveled to America in the past decade say they have no plans to return. Canada has always been America's most important international market, close, easy to travel, and deeply connected. If even loyal neighbors are turning away, this isn't just a tourism problem. Air France KLM, followed a pretty similar path. In early 2025, the French-Dutch airline alliance reduced its US flights by about 30 to 45%, cutting major routes like Paris to New York and Amsterdam to Miami. These flights, which were once symbols of transatlantic economic and cultural ties, are now being replaced by a focus on Asia, Tokyo, Seoul, Singapore, and Mumbai. Experienced crews operate newer aircraft on these routes, while US routes become symbolic rather than strategic. A veteran Air France captain explained that, these days, flights to the US now involve pickpocket risks, sudden protests and chaotic immigration, while flights to Japan or South Korea are calm and honestly, much more orderly. This trend isn't just about airline profits, it really reflects the passenger experience. You know, a Paris to Tokyo flight is calm, organized, and honestly enjoyable. But flights to New York or Miami, they just feel stressful, unpredictable, and, well, exhausting. Passengers face scrutiny at immigration, fear lost luggage, and worry about city safety. The United States, once the land of promise and the American dream, now feels like a journey full of hassles. Australia's Jetstar offers another example. In 2025, it withdrew completely from the United States market. Destinations like Los Angeles, Honolulu, and San Francisco were wiped off the map. The Sydney to Los Angeles route, which was once iconic for students and young travelers, just vanished. One veteran Lufthansa pilot put it candidly, "Flying to Tokyo or Delhi is a relief, orderly, calm, no stress. Flying to Houston is different. Flashing lights, heavy police presence, overpriced taxis, and passengers treated like criminals. If even the crew dreads going to America, imagine how the passengers must feel." It can be said that Lufthansa isn't leaving the US because of a lack of passengers, but because flying there has become a burden, costly, unstable, and without long-term strategic value. And when Lufthansa, a symbol of caution and meticulous calculation, chooses to turn away, it honestly signals a trend that the entire European aviation industry will find hard to reverse. At US airports, traffic jumped 38%, but visa procedures remained long and difficult, and entry processes were heavy-handed. Jetstar's CEO said, "Visa procedures are a nightmare, and our passengers are exhausted from being treated like a threat at the border." Older travelers from Australia felt the pain most. A retired couple from Melbourne recalled being held for 2 hours at Los Angeles airport due to a passport mix-up in 2019. "We felt like criminals just for traveling," they said, vowing never to return. Australians are loyal travelers, and when they decide to abandon a destination, they do it quietly but decisively. Losing their trust isn't just about revenue, it's losing a long-term relationship that supports tourism flows for decades. Finally, JetBlue executed its largest cuts in company history. 15 airports, including Syracuse, Worcester, Kansas City, and Fresno, vanished from its schedule. For residents of small towns, losing flights is more than inconvenience, it's losing lifelines. Seniors can't travel to specialized doctors, students struggle to reach universities, and businesses lose access to national markets. When the aviation map shrinks, so does the American dream. This story shows a quiet but severe transformation in global travel. It's not about politics or propaganda, it's about trust, safety, cost, and experience. The United States, once the world's top destination, is now losing travelers to Asia, Canada, and other accessible, friendly, and efficient destinations. The consequences are economic, cultural, and social, and they are unfolding silently in 2025. All content in this video is compiled from trade reports, public data, and official policy documents as of August 2025. A retired couple from Melbourne recalled their bitter experience in 2019, being held for 2 hours at Los Angeles airport just because of a passport mix-up. It's like losing a long-term relationship, a loyal customer base that could sustain tourism flows for decades. In 2025, JetBlue, once praised as a rising star for its friendly customer service, carried out the largest round of cuts in the company's history. 15 airports were removed from its route map. Entire cities like Syracuse, Worcester, Kansas City, and Fresno vanished completely from the schedule. For many passengers, this wasn't just an inconvenience, it felt like abandonment. And JetBlue isn't the only case. A wave of other domestic airlines is also downsizing. The reasons aren't hard to understand. Fuel prices have risen 41% since 2022. Widespread staffing shortages are happening everywhere, from pilots and maintenance technicians to baggage handlers. The result, America's domestic skies are becoming increasingly empty. According to data from the Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, within just 1 year, 38% of small airports in the US lost more than half of their daily flights. Imagine what that does to people's lives. For residents of small towns, each flight isn't just transportation, it's a lifeline connecting them to the world. When those flights disappear, opportunities disappear with them. A former JetBlue pilot in Ohio shared, "I used to fly across more than 30 states, landing in small towns where people would cheer just because they saw a plane touchdown. Now those flights are gone, and what's left is an emptiness that's hard to describe." This isn't just about inconvenience, it directly impacts daily life. Seniors can no longer travel to see specialized doctors. Students find it harder to visit out-of-state universities. Business owners lose the ability to access the national market. When the aviation map shrinks, the American dream shrinks along with it. And if you want to keep following this journey, unpacking the real stories hiding behind headlines that seem ordinary, don't forget to hit like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss trade reports, public data, and official policy documents as of August 2025. This video is not political propaganda, does not target any individual or organization, and does not represent any government. The only goal here is to offer a different perspective so none of us get left behind. Thank you for being with us and watching the video. Be sure to like, comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the channel and press the notification bell icon to get new video updates. Your support is invaluable to us. Thank you.